Good morning, everybody. I'm Philippa Haynes.
And I'm Mark Lee. Welcome to the Accountant's Success Secrets podcast.
Yes, this is where we showcase and celebrate successful accountants who are doing great things, have years of experience, and whose stories can inspire and encourage other accountants around the UK.
We talk to accountants who've been running their own practice successfully for a good few years, and we ask them to share their story, including the highs, the lows, and what they've learned along the way. The aim being to provide some fundamental insights for you, our loyal listener. If you'd like to share your story in a similar way, do please get in touch with Philippa or myself.
Yeah, and we have something to celebrate today. We have 500 downloads of this podcast. Yay. And we haven't really been doing it for that long, so that is fantastic news. Well done us. Anyway, today we are delighted to introduce Vanessa Fuller, whose accountancy practice is called Premier Tax Solutions.
Vanessa is ATT qualified and set up her practice in 2015, along with her business partner, Emily Precious, who's CTA qualified. This is because Vanessa needed to work around her young daughter as a single mother. 9 years later, the practice has over 400 clients, and Vanessa and Emily both work a 3-day week, and Vanessa no longer does any client work, and that's not just because she's on mat leave at the moment, I don't think.
Yeah. So welcome to the Accountant's Success Secrets. Vanessa, is there anything else you'd like to add by way of introduction? We know you're on maternity leave, so this is special that you've given us some time as well.
No, I think you've got everything covered there.
Great, thank you. Well, we always aim to dig deep into the person behind the accountant, and we seem to manage this with 5 focused questions and still keep the podcast to about 30 minutes. We'll take the questions in turn. I start with some 3 questions in one, really. Why did you go into accounting? And more importantly, why did you start your practice and how did you go about doing that?
Well, I fell into accountancy, really. So originally I wanted to be a solicitor. So I did law and business at university, tried to get a training contract, and I would have had to move to one of the big cities. And they were quite low paid at the time. So I thought, scrap that, what's the next best thing I could do? So then I thought, accountant would be quite good. So then I managed to get a training contract with a top 10 firm. And so that then started me in accountancy. I did start an audit, but I wasn't a fan of that one. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, and so I moved into tax. So I was office based instead of travelling across the country, and I absolutely love tax. And I think it's quite similar to the law degree because you're reading bits of legislation. So that took me into accountancy, and then it was the breakdown of my marriage to my daughter's father that kind of catapulted me into having my own practice. So I'd moved back to Stoke, which is where I'm originally from. And when I was trying to get a job, it was 20k a year pay cut to work in tax. So it didn't make it viable for me with having childcare and a mortgage to pay. And then also the employers back then, because you're going back 10 years ago, they weren't as flexible as they are now. So it didn't feel right to try and work in a practice. So I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to set my own one up. So I got a job in Marks and Spencer's just so that I could pay the bills at home, and my mum would have my daughter early in the morning so that I could go to work. She would do the school run, and then I started operating the business during the school day and evenings and weekends, so operating it around my daughter. And then I dragged Emily, my business partner, along for the ride. So I'm the one that's a bit crazy with all the ideas, and Emily's the sensible one.
Yeah, I think that's what you need.
And how did you build up the client base from that innovative and entrepreneurial start, Vanessa?
So it was all from scratch. We didn't take any clients from where we previously worked, and most of them at the time came from Facebook and then word of mouth. So I remember sitting in the office of Emily, the first office, there was just the 2 of us, and we got second-hand furniture, and bought the best printer we could buy and a second-hand laptop, and we were sat there, and I remember thinking, is this phone ever going to ring? And it did.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So I guess, I mean, one of the, we had a little chat before going live, and it sounds to me like you've learned a lot along the journey. There's been some highs and lows, hasn't there? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be lovely to hear a little bit about what you've learned as you've gone along.
I think we made some really big mistakes along the way, and I wish that I'd had a coach or been in a community a lot earlier to then have avoided the mistakes. So one of the things was pricing. We got the pricing wrong. We started off too cheap. We chased the turnover. We'd let any client through the door. So pricing was definitely a big issue. And then secondly was scope creep, because I think you want to give so much to your clients and really help them, but then there comes a point where they're taking the mickey a bit. So we'd have them people wanting us to do the bookkeeping all in the price for the year-end accounts and things. And I think at first we thought, oh, you need to have package deals, like a fixed price, and then that didn't reflect what we were doing, and so it ended up that we were busy deals then. So then that was when we had to make some changes.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you're on maternity leave now, and I think you were saying before that really you kind of work on the business rather than kind of in the business, so it's allowed you to sort of have this time away. How's that been working out?
I think it's worked quite well, really, and I think the January that's just passed has been a testament, because last January I did the majority of the personal tax returns. My business partner Emily was off poorly. She went down in January with a suspected heart attack. She was then hospitalised, and then all hell broke loose. And she was off until the April, and then that really then hit home about making sure that we've got other people in the team that can do the work instead of it just relying on one person. Luckily, at that point, Emily had pushed a lot of the work away from it. But then come this January, I'd spent months last summer, and so the rest of the team, training others so that they could take all the tax returns. So I actually went into the office on the 31st of January with Oscar, and I was like, is everything okay? And they were a bit like, yeah, shoo, we don't need you.
That's what you want, I guess, but it feels strange, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you find yourself wanting other things to do, and so then you do meddle a little bit.
Oh, I think that's inevitable. And if we combine what you were saying about how you started and you were taking clients or generating clients through, you said through Facebook, is that through being active in business groups, or just people who know people, or particular sectors? Where were those early clients coming from? And if you had your time over, recognizing that many of those early clients weren't paying you the right sort of fees, would you start that way again?
I don't regret how we started, but I do regret the price point with the fees. So a lot of the clients either were from my friends list, or friends would recommend to their friends. We did targeted ads, and I do think Facebook was a lot better back then for our business, whereas now we don't really get much from there. But I would have definitely started with a higher price point, and I think had software in place. So we used Go Proposal, and that's made a massive difference to us in terms of pricing. So I think I'd start the same way again, but the pricing would definitely be different.
Yeah, and if your prices had been different / higher, do you think you'd have got as many referrals and picked up as much business?
Do you know, I still think we probably would have got quite a chunk. A lot of the clients that we picked up in the early days were subbies, so construction industry based, and it was a little bit as if your number was like on the back of a toilet door on a building site, and there's all these people just ringing and your number gets passed around and your name does. So I do think we would have got still quite a lot, because we are quite personable, and a lot of people have said that we're not stuffy accountants, like the old stereotype that you get with accountants and with solicitors, and we're nothing like that. And when they come in and they've got the muddy boots on, I'll have a bit of banter with them and be like, "Oh, you're messing up my carpet." So it puts them at ease.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure those personal qualities are crucial, and also I think what you're saying there is that although you pitched low prices to win the clients, they weren't necessarily coming to you because you were cheap. They were coming to you because you could relate to them. They could relate to you. You were providing them with the type of service and attention that they wanted. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely.
So just tell me, I mean, I know, as you said, Facebook's very different now, but how do you do your marketing sort of these days? Because as you said, what you don't really want is any old Tom, Dick and Harry just sort of picking up your number and getting in touch, because it's very difficult to filter out, isn't it? What do you do these days? Is there anything you've turned to?
Well, in-person networking has been really good for us, and so then we get a lot of word of mouth referrals from that. So predominantly a lot of the referrals that have come in via people that we know or existing clients. We also have quite a little following on Instagram, and the real fans, like they really interact, and the community is quite good there. And then something that I'm working on now and have been for the last few months is my personal branding. And Emily's going to be doing the same as well. So I'm trying to be a lot more proactive on LinkedIn, and that so far is paying off, and we're already having leads.
And that's brilliant, and well done for doing all that. And looking at both Instagram and LinkedIn, are you focusing on particular local sector, business sector, or just generally, and hoping that the right sort of people will see, connect, follow, engage with you?
We have always specialised in hair and beauty and construction and tried to target them, but as of recently we're trying to do more generic to appeal to anybody, but with the right personality. So we use disc profiling in our business. So we disc profile all the staff, and then that obviously helps you to understand and know how to communicate. And then we do that with the clients as well. So if somebody's a real detailed person as a client, they might not appreciate me that doesn't like detail. I'm quite a social person, so then they would definitely be moved across to somebody that's more detailed within the team.
That's wonderful. I love hearing that, and I'm curious because I don't tend to operate on Instagram myself. Very active on LinkedIn, as I'm sure you know. But on Instagram, are there many subbies and property type people who are active there and engaging with you and following you there that you wouldn't reach in other ways?
It's mainly the hair and beauty industry that's on there. So yeah, the construction ones aren't there as much. They probably are a little bit more Facebook than anything, or it's word of mouth with them a lot of the time. But hair and beauty, because it is such a visual product that they sell, then they tend to be more active on LinkedIn. So we try to tap into that. On Instagram. So we try to tap into that.
That makes sense. And thank you very much for clarifying that, because I always think it's important to recognize different types of audiences on different platforms, rather than assuming you can reach everybody everywhere. Now, I'm going to ask Philippa if we can hear her, because I think her screen has frozen.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello. I don't know why that's happened. It happened last week. I need to sort it out. But yes, I'm still here.
Excellent. Good. Are there any other mistakes that you would say you've made, Vanessa, that you've learned from? You mentioned pricing in particular. Anything on the recruitment side? Because how many staff did you get up to, and what have you got now?
we've been up to 9 and we've dropped down to 8 at the moment. But recruitment, I'd say staff have been the biggest headache. Like the team that we've got now are absolutely wonderful, but like we've got some real horror stories on the staff front. So I think we've hired naively with some people. It's been really difficult because obviously they can sell themselves to you in an interview, but then when you get into the crux of the work, they're not actually that good. And I remember listening to Andrea on the podcast a few weeks back, and she was saying about the test she uses, and I thought, I need to tap her up for that.
Yeah. It's something I've long recommended to the accountants I mentor and in my sole practice club, is to have tests and challenges for them to do in front of you, ideally, that just assess whether or not they've got the experience that they imply that they have. And I always remember a guy who used to run a bookkeeping agency, and he told me this probably 20 years ago. He had 10 questions he used to ask any bookkeeper who wanted to be on his books. And if they couldn't answer those 10 questions, all 10 off the top of his head and get them all right, they didn't get onto his books. And that went from people with 6 months experience to people with 60 years experience. It's astonishing how well people can sell themselves, but they somehow still miss the basics. So
yeah, definitely.
So, how have you managed to get the team that you really want now then, Vanessa? What's sort of changed from being a bit naive to sort of suddenly, having a really core 8 that's really working?
I think it's been a shift in mindset for me and Emily. So I think we wanted to people please and have a nice environment. And I think we probably took that a bit too far and saw the staff as like friends. And so then the boundaries become very blurred. And I think that's been something really difficult to deal with now. But we have got the separation. And obviously I love the team and we all go out on socials. And there is a really nice vibe in the office, but there is that separation now.
I think that's very, very wise and very important. And do you find that both clients and staff are joining you because of the emphasis on tax in the name of the practice? Or are you attracting clients who want bookkeeping and accounting as well as tax?
I think because me and Emily were tax trained and qualified, initially we were really interested in getting tax return clients, so all of your little sole traders. And then we did have some companies, and then it's naturally progressive. The staff that we've got a chartered certified accountant, 2 of them that are doing the exams for that. There's somebody that's done a degree in accounting as well. So we've got a real mixed bag now. But initially, I think it was because of our background and we wanted to be known for tax returns and thinking in terms of like SEO and things. And the name is totally different than anybody else locally that would help get us noticed.
Such a good move. And as you probably know, my background was in tax as well. And in all the years I've been mentoring accountants and writing and commenting, I've long said people aren't necessarily looking for an accountant. What do people most want from their accountant? Yes, they want to be able to fulfill their obligations, prepare and file accounts, Companies House if they need to, prepare and file tax returns. But more than anything, they want to pay less tax. And they're looking for people who will overtly help them with that, rather than people who focus on doing their bookkeeping and preparing a set of accounts and forget to mention tax. So I'm sure that's giving you a great heads up and start compared to much of the competition. Well done again.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the things that we ask, what makes you different or unique? And obviously there's that tax slant, which is, as Mark said, not everybody does. What else do you think has, actually been the kind of reason for your success? Because I mean, you've done really well over a few years, haven't you?
Yeah, I think the disc profiling has massively helped. That's been a totally different approach, and trying to pair the clients with the most suitable personality in house, so there isn't a clash. But quite early on, we made the decision to be zero only as well. So if somebody was to come to us on QuickBooks or Sage, we would offer to convert them to zero, and then if they didn't want to convert, then they are not the right client for us, and it's okay to let them go.
Absolutely.
There's been a few that we've thought, oh, because they're in the room at a networking event that we're at, and you go in week in, week out. We've had a couple of them that have come through that, but it's just been a real mistake. So for us, it's keep going back to the values and being zero only for us.
And this disc profiling, I've just got to pick up on, because I think it's a really important point, and something which, used properly, can get amazing results. I think some people don't necessarily know how to use it properly, but you obviously do. So how has that changed things? Tell us a little bit about that.
So because we've profiled each person within the business, then you know how they work and how you should communicate. So for me, I'm not a detail person, I'm a people person. And so if you come to me with big spreadsheets and lots of detail, you're not going to keep my attention. Whereas Emily, for instance, she is a really detailed person. So then when I come to her with things, I know she's going to ask more questions. So I need to be a little bit more prepared. So it's then enabled us to work out what are people's strengths and what are the weaknesses. And then to be able to push people doing the things that they're stronger at. So for me, doing bookkeeping and a set of accounts is not my bag, because I'm not a detailed person. But send me out networking to do business development and things, or marketing, and meet people or bring clients on board, then that's something that I'm good at. So it's meant then you're doing the right things instead of all trying to, follow one track.
It's so sensible. And there's a common mistake a lot of people make, not just accountants in business, is they recruit people and work alongside people who are a lot like them. And if you had two heavily detailed people running the practice, who'd be going out doing the networking, bringing the clients in? If you had two people who love networking, who'd be doing the work in the office? And that, recognizing that different people have different strengths, different styles, different approaches, and trying to have a sort of a full range in the office, just, I'm sure, gives so much strength to your practice and so much confidence that everything's going to get done and sorted. It's such a wise approach to go, and I'm sure it's one of the secrets to your success. Are there any other success secrets? That's accountant success secrets, what is our podcast title. So what other secrets are you prepared to share, Vanessa?
I think getting involved in the communities online is a really good one. And for us, investing in coaching has made a huge difference. So we wouldn't be where we are now if we hadn't have done the coaching. So before we had the coaching, we were probably working 50-hour weeks, still trying to juggle everything. We were both heavily involved in client work, so it was just really hard going, and something had to change. And by investing the money in the right person, not just any coach, I searched for a long time for the one that we had. That's made a huge difference.
Speaking as a coach / mentor, I love that, and you're absolutely right. We're all different, and I've got a number of friends who are business coaches, mentors for accountants, and we know there's plenty of accountants out there, some of whom like person A, some will like person B, and so on. Finding the right person to guide and support you and give you the confidence and peace of mind about the decisions you're making, to sense check them, and to be that shoulder to cry on and support and point you in the right direction. immensely useful. And it's one, you might not be a client of mine, but it's wonderful to hear how much you are an advocate for finding the right person and doing that. I love it. Thank you very much for that. Any other secrets to your success, would you say, Vanessa?
I'd say being focused, and that is becoming more prevalent than ever for me now. So with having a 4-month-old baby, my time is very precious. So, not running off to looking at the next shiny thing like a magpie. I think writing down your goals, so putting your personal goals down, figuring out what you want and why you want it, then tying them back to the business goals, because ultimately, they are going to fund those. So if it's holiday or it's a bigger house, it all ties back. So then once you've got your business goals and your personal goals, I think writing them down and looking at them all the time. So I look at mine every month and just see, are we on track? And sometimes you go well past the goals and you just think, oh, like I don't really know what's next, or how on earth do we predict what's next? But I think focusing in on things like that is massive as well.
That's glorious to hear, given it's something I always talk to my clients about as well. Wonderful to hear it working in real life from somebody who's not a client as well.
And I think it's one of those things where with the goals, you say it's unpredictable, etc. But to have a goal, at least there's something to hold on to, and if you suddenly waver or have a bit of a wobble, you can go back to that goal and say, where was I? What am I really thinking about? Where do I want to get to? And I think that's invaluable, really.
Totally.
Yeah, well, we're drawing to an end. It's been lovely talking to you. And again, we do appreciate the time that you've spent with us, given you've got a 4-month-old as well. It would be great to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you. And, even if you're not there now, you obviously, there will be other people ready to pick up the phone. So give us your details.
Yeah, so my practice is Premier Tax Solutions. And if you go onto our website, which is premiertaxsolutions.co.uk, you can book a discovery call direct through the website, or connect with myself or Emily on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Philippa, we should remind our listeners how they can find out more about you and Insight 101.
Yeah. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. And also, if you want to book a discovery call with me, the best way to do that is to go onto my website, which is www.insight101.co.uk. And Mark, tell us about your Soul Practice Club.
Thank you. Yeah, well, my online everywhere. My name, Mark Lee, is so common. So online everywhere, I'm Bookmark Lee. Even my business cards are in the shape of bookmarks. My LinkedIn account is Bookmark Lee. So is my website, bookmarklee.co.uk. Full details of the Soul Practice Club there. We meet second Tuesday of the month online for sole practitioners, whether working alone or with a team. And you can book discovery calls with me as well. Yes, you can do it through my website. At the top of my LinkedIn posts, I think there's a link saying book an appointment as well. So you can do that there. So that is me.
Great. Okay, well, that's it. We hope you've enjoyed the Accountant Success Secrets podcast today. And if you have, please share the love online, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and let us have your feedback personally too.
Absolutely. And do reach out to either Philippa or myself if you'd like to be interviewed on a future podcast. Sorry. Thanks again to Vanessa. Very much so appreciate your time and input, and for focusing your answers as well, and just sharing so much value with everybody there. And to Philippa, my co-host. Until next time on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast, or anywhere else we might meet online or in real life. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now. Bye. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you.